Good morning, everyone. We'll give us just a minute to let everyone join before we get started.
Good morning. It's Marissa and Gary.
Hey, good morning.
How are you?
Good. I'm going to get us started at 9:02. So we have about one more minute and
Hey
then we
Jess,
will.
how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
It's Michael. In case you
Hey.
didn't recognize the voice.
I recognize your voice anywhere, Michael.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's get started. So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the MOST 2026 Pre-Bid Conference. I'm Jessica Rincon, Assistant Director of Program Services, and I'm joined today by our budget team to review the essential information you'll need to prepare the required budgets for your MOST applications. So, before we begin, I want to highlight that on November 19th, CSC held the first Pre-Bid Conference, which covered general procurement and fiscal information, along with all of the programmatic requirements. Written questions from that session and CSC's responses will be posted in CAPS by December 5th. Because programmatic questions were addressed during that first session, we will only be answering questions related to budget development today. So I highly encourage that you jot down your questions, as time for questions will be provided at the end of the presentation this morning. Additionally, there will not be an opportunity to submit written questions as part of today's pre-bid conference. So all questions asked and answers provided, whether verbally or in writing, will be posted in CAPS by December 12th. I also want to clarify that the budgets you submit with your application are not your full year contract budgets. If you're awarded funding, CSC staff will work with you to develop your budgets for the initial contract term. For now, we are requesting budgets for specific timelines, which are outlined in each application for funding. Please review those carefully as you prepare your submissions. To get us started this morning, we have Lynn Kalmus, Senior Budget Analyst, and Alicia Williams, our Director of Budget. They will be presenting a high-level overview of the essential elements of your budgets. Following that, Ileana Blanco, Senior Budget Analyst, will provide a demonstration of how to use the provided budget templates, and we will review how to apply the information shared today. We won't cover every possible item that may appear in your budget since each program is unique. So for that reason, it is essential that as you begin drafting your budgets, you closely review all of the RFP documents and included attachments. These documents will be your most valuable tools as you prepare your application after today. With that, it's time to hand over the presentation to Lynn to kick us off.
Thank you, Jessica. I am going to share my screen with everyone and introduce myself. I am Lynn Kalmus. I am a senior budget analyst with Children's Services Council. And with that, let's get started with preparing your budget. Important information, as Jessica acknowledged, please note that this is the only opportunity to ask budget-related questions. Written questions will not be accepted in CAPS. Posting of responses to questions asked during this budget-specific pre-bid conference will be published in CAPS on December 12th. So we're going to start with most inclusion and most special needs. Most inclusion and special needs year-round budget requirements. You are required to submit two separate budgets for the year-round applicants. They will be submitted on a multi-site Excel spreadsheet, which my colleague Ileana Blanco will demonstrate at the end of this presentation. Reminder that for the school year budget, you need to include 174 after-school days, 6 early release days, 6 non-school days, and startup budgets will be included in this school year budget beginning either June 1 or July 1st as applicable. You will also include a separate summer budget, which will include 38 non-school summer days. For most inclusion special needs summer-only programs, one budget is required for summer applicants. Again, it will be on the multi-site Excel sheet, which Ileana will go over at the end of this presentation. On that Excel sheet, the summer budget will include 38 non-school days. Startup budget should be included in this summer budget beginning April 1 or May 1st as applicable. This will allow providers, summer-only staff to receive required trainings. Next, we're moving on to Catch Kids Club and inclusion supports. Catch inclusion budget requirements. 2 separate budgets are required for applicants. You will use the single site budget template. Again, my colleague Ileana Blanco will go over this at the end of this PowerPoint presentation. 2-month period, August 1, 2026 through September 30, 2026 will be included in that first budget, along with the startup budget should be included in the 2-month beginning July 1 as applicable. You will also create a 12-month budget period beginning October 1 through September 30, 2027. And with that, I finish my section of this presentation, and I am turning it over to the Director of Budget, Alicia Williams.
Okay. Thanks, Lynn. All right, let's get into your budget requirements. We're going to start by looking at your staff pay minimum requirements. These requirements, you can find additional details on page 20 of the RFP document. All staff must be paid at least $15 per hour. For your teachers, minimum is $25 per hour. Now let's look at your staffing and program requirements. That's going to be on pages 9 and 10 of your RFP document. Your staffing patterns, they must meet the required coverage ratios. This is both for safety and quality. The programs must serve a minimum of 40 children in order to qualify as an inclusion site, and a minimum of 4 children for a special needs site. Your staffing schedules, they should align with the program's operating days and hours. For the school year, teachers must be budgeted for at least 4 hours weekly. For the summertime, teachers must be at least 12 hours per week, and this also should include the planning time. For school-based program, CSC will cover the cost for 1 campus monitor per site. Additional part-time staff hours can also be included for attending CSC-approved trainings. Now we're going to look at some expenses that are allowable in your budget. For salaries and fringe, you can find more details in attachment 21 of your RFP document. But these are the main categories of personal-related expenses that can be included. This is your regular salary and wages, your FICA, retirement contributions, health benefits, workers' compensation, and unemployment compensation. Now for your travel. That should include for you your local or out-of-town travel for staff. But keep in mind, it must not exceed the federal rate per mile. So keep that in mind as you prepare your budget. For your contractual services or consultants, these are direct service providers that are paid contractual rates, and you must reflect this rate within your budget. For your expenses and supplies, these are your office supplies, cell phone, printing, and it can also include your background checks. For PATH and CATCH, you can include the required curricula within this line expense. For your cost reimbursement items, you can bill for space and utilities. You can find more details on page 29 of your RFP document. But the cost per square feet should not exceed $27. And this should include your rent, your utilities, and your janitorial cost. If you're going to budget your janitorial and utilities separately, then the maximum cost per square feet should not exceed $16. For your value added, this covers your pro-social enrichment activities and your field trips. It includes family engagement, events, and also supplies. For the special needs program only, music therapy is allowed. For your transportation, this is only for daily transportation to and from the program. And again, it must be at or below the federal mileage rate. For your out-of-school time fees, refer to pages 8 and 9 of your RFP document. But this covers the School Board of Broward County facility usage and consumable fees. Refer to the Broward County Public School site for details. Your other reimbursement, this may include your specialized staff training cost. It does not include trainings offered by CSC, as these are free for our funded program staff. For your administrative expenses, refer to pages 30 and attachment 21 of your RFP document for this. But your administrative expenses, these relate to the day-to-day operations of your agency. You can request up to 12% of the total direct cost as administrative expenses to cover the administration of the program. Some examples include like your financial audit, your accounting activities, professional or liability insurance, your business licenses, and also your administrative personnel and technology. And then now for your match cost. All funding through the CSC requires a 5% match. Some acceptable match include matching funds from another unallocated source that directly supports the program. Remember, parent fees are not allowed as cash match. Acceptable in-kind contributions may include volunteers, administrative overhead, and equipment or space that you have dedicated to the program. Now I'm going to turn it over to Ileana and Jessica to discuss your budget templates and also show you some examples.
Good morning. Here comes the fun part. Let me move you guys out of the way. Good morning to all. Today we'll be reviewing the CSC budget form, which has been created to provide efficiencies and meet the CSC budget development guidelines requirements. The multi-site form is specifically for those agencies applying to the most inclusion, most special needs, and summer-only programs. The multi-site form must be used to compose the two budgets required by the RFP, the school year budget and the summer budget. Agencies that will propose for summer-only programs will also be using this multi-site form. The CSC budget form was designed in Microsoft Excel and contains built-in formulas that perform the calculations for you. The form is not locked, meaning that formulas may be rewritten, adjusted, or even deleted. It provides flexibility for the user. The multi-site form contains a master tab, a startup tab, and 25 already built-in sites at the bottom. Begin by setting up your form, leaving only the number of tabs or sites to be included in your proposal. In this case, in the sample budget we'll be using, I will be proposing for only 3 sites. Please use the tabs in numerical order, meaning if you have 3 sites, leave site 1, 2, and 3 open and hide 4 through 25. You do not want to skip sites, use 2, 7, or 8, because all of these sites rolled into the master tab in order. The master will pick up the site's positions, details, and budgeted amounts. Let's review the form. The master tab. There are no computations performed on the master tab. The master tab summarizes the startup budget and each of the subsites. It contains the built-in formulas and it pulls information from each one of the tabs. This is a blank form that you're seeing before us, and you begin by filling out the top section. I just put a generic name here for us since the most inclusion, most special needs, and summer-only programs will be using this form. This is what I've titled it. For the program, we'll use the sample most program. As you fill out this top period, you're required to use 2 budgets, a school year and a summer budget. This budget will be labeled school year for the fiscal period. Note the note in yellow located here. At the master level, you will only fill in this top part, which will then populate automatically into all of your sites. Every site will carry the same title. At the master level, the only other section that you will be filling in is column E for full-time or part-time staff members and column G, which will outline the allocation for the position. The master tab summarizes each site's staffing structure, expense line items, and administrative costs. It is also set up to show only 4 sites at the moment, but you can unhide additional sites by double clicking and unhiding on the rows. Here comes the expenses, administrative cost, and the match. Again, this is pulling from each of the subsites. I'm going to go ahead and go back up, and just to show you, I'm going to set myself up by hiding site 4 through 25. Hold on, I got a little pencil here that I can't move.
While Eliana is navigating that, I just want to make a note that this multi-site template is going to be used for our most year-round applicants for both inclusion and special needs and our summer-only applicants.
I am now left. Everything is hiding in the background. Nothing has been deleted. Please note that the form is set up with formulas. So deleting sites and deleting rows and columns will throw off and break links. Just hide instead of deleting, or zero out items instead of deleting. Moving on to site 1. Start by consulting with your programs director or your finance department and your HR department to obtain the details needed to get started. This includes position titles, staff names, pay rate, whether salaried or hourly, and the fringe benefits your agency covers. Please refer to the CSC budget preparation guidelines for details on allowable fringe benefits. The budget site form is also set up to create efficiencies in computations and features running formulas that feed into the master. Again, try to avoid breaking formulas, but if you do, it could always be rebuilt. You can start by renaming each site, which will now reflect on the master. Let's rename our site. We'll start with Alpha. As I rename my site here, I can also rename my tab. By renaming the site in cell C11, the master is now able to pick up your site name. Site 2 is not named yet. Well, let's go ahead and do that so that you can see how it works. We'll name it Bravo. If we refer back to the master, our site 2 is now renamed Bravo as well. You can also go ahead and rename your tab. That's the functionality of renaming your tab. Let's record a few positions. Salaried positions are every form in the subsite. The first position, let me make this a little bit bigger for you, is set up to be a salaried position. That is the format of our form. You may need additional salaried positions. I'm going to show you how this can be done easily. The form, again, has built-in formulas. You want to start by creating your position titles, and I'm going to purposely label this salaried position. If I can spell. A salaried position is a position that is paid gross wages every 2 weeks or depending on your payroll schedule. It's a salaried individual. Normally, the pay rate for a salaried individual is stated as a whole number. We'll use 62.5 in this case. To determine how many hours this position will work, you must know if your agency runs on a 40-hour work week or a 37.5-hour work week or otherwise. Just to make our calculations easy, I'm going to use Excel, the Excel sheet, to provide that information to me. In this salary position, I'm hoping that based on a 40-hour work week, they will work 30 hours a week. So I will multiply 30 by 52 to get my approximate number of hours worked. This will reflect now in our number of hours. The total, I'm sorry, let me back that up. This is the number of hours of week that I'm expecting this salaried position to work for the program. But my agency runs on a 40-hour work week, and that is 40 times 52, which is 2080. The form automatically is calculating the allocation for your position based on the number of hours you're expecting this position to support the program. The form goes on to calculate the salary rate based on the allocation percentage that you just selected. Moving over to the fringe benefits section. Our fringe benefits are set up so that it provides efficiencies in your calculation. 2 fringe benefits automatically compute. That's FICA and workers' comp. Let's say our workers' compensation rate is 1.25. Once entered, the form will automatically calculate workers' compensation for you. Retirement, health, and SUTA are not automatically calculated because it really depends on your agency's fringe benefits program. Please, you are able to use these completely open, but I just want to remind you that when you do, we recommend that you use rounding formulas so that you have no sense in your budget. The workers' compensation formula contains the round formula for you to view. You could just mimic that very same formula. I'm going to perform a health entry because my salaried position receives health benefits. Let's say our health benefits cost were $550 per month. That is the employer cost. Therefore, my health benefits, which must reflect the allocation, would be the formula equals round, open parentheses, pick up the $550 per month times the 12 months times the allocation assigned to that position. Oh, it's doing something funky. Comma 0 is required by the formula, and you could just press enter. Again, health benefits is not required for every position. Therefore, it's not auto-populated. You must go in and build your formula for that. The same will go for retirement and workers' comp and SUTA. We will see the overview, the fields already filled out in our sample form. My second position also happens to be a salaried position, but my form is not quite set up to capture that. All forms are defaulted so that the first position is a salaried position, but the remaining positions are part-time positions. You can change that easily by just using the Excel sheet as it's meant to be. You could just copy and paste it down here and change your numbers. This salaried position would make $50,000 a year. I'm expecting this salaried position to work 20 hours of the week times 52 weeks for a total of 1040 for the year. The allocation is automatically calculated based on a 40-hour work week. Again, not 52,000 bucks here. Let me see something. Oh, got it. It's not multiplying. My allocation. Nope. A simple copy paste fixes your issue. So when you copy a salary position, ensure you copy the whole D through J. It'll make your computations easier. We'll go back and see the salary position. This will be our assistant manager. Let's move on to some part-time positions. Often in our after-school programs, we have multiple positions under the same title. We have multiple counselors. We may have multiple program assistants, site directors, etc. In our form, the part-time positions will follow the RFP's number of days as indicated earlier in our sample. 174 days, 6 early release, 6 non-school days. This is the school year budget, so we will not be entering any summertime days. Let's say that this counselor is making $17 an hour. Not 1,700, $17 an hour. And on the school days, he or she will work 4 hours for every school day. During the early release, she's scheduled for 6 hours per day. And in non-school days, which normally run a little longer, she's scheduled for a full 8 hours. This counselor supports our program 174 school days, 6 early release, and 6 non-school days. We can also build a second counselor position. And this counselor position kind of the labor fades away a little bit. I'm going to set it up so that it runs 174 school days, but only 3 early release just for the presentational purposes. And I'm going to run 5 non-school days, same number of hours, and same pay rate. Because they're running different numbers on the days, the salary is not the same. The reason why I've done this is because I want you to make a note of this very special Excel requirement. If we leave the 2 counselors positions named just counselor, Excel doesn't know how to differentiate. So if you go back to the master, both counselor positions are listed as the pay rate, but as you can see, it is not picking up the second counselor position that has a total different than the first. In order for this to be recognized by Excel, we are going to simply give it a unique ID. And to do that, we'll just simply use the number 1, and counselor 2 will become counselor number 2. Now, the 1 and the 2 are not necessarily part of your position title. It's just a unique identifier that we are using in Excel so that the formula recognizes that this is not the same counselor position. If we go back to our master, now we see that the salaries are reflected properly per position. Ensure that you enumerate all of those positions that have the same position title in order for the master to pick up the correct allocated amount per position. A second note on building your first CSC site budget is that CSC guidelines require that positions that work across multiple sites are only listed on your main site, meaning that you do not need to spread a director of programs across 20 sites, if that's what you're proposing. You would only include that director of programs on your first and main site. Let's develop the startup tab. To fully operate the program, applicants may request startup period so that staff members may be hired and trained, prepare sites, develop curriculum, purchase materials, and start recruiting prior to the direct service delivery time. Expenditures associated with this initial phase should be included within the startup budget. It is expected that startup cost will remain minimal for proposals awarded to providers already offering services at CSC sites. So you could see the development of the startup tab. I'm going to switch over to our sample budget, and we can review the startup tab. The startup period for this program is requiring for the teacher assistant and a teacher to come in for training hours. The startup period positions listed must be positions that are included in our budget during the year-round process. The startup period can include FICA, retirement, health benefits, worker compensation, supplies, specialized trainings, and startup purchase services. Startup is a cost reimbursed expenses. So you will be reimbursed dollar for dollar for your startup cost. Site 1 is the only site also in which we will capture 2 important items. One, not only the programmatic expenses, but administrative costs are only listed in site 1. Also, the second is our matching contributions that can be composed of cash and in-kind. All of your matching contributions will be collapsed into site 1. No need to spread admin cost or matching contributions across all sites. Only the main site will capture those for us. The form is set up so that once you enter fringe benefit rates information, the fringe benefit rates will also reflect on the form here. You do not need to enter any numbers here. They will automatically populate from the numbers you enter at the top of your form. Next, we'll move on to the single site form. The single site form will be used for the most inclusion supports and the catch applicants. This form looks very similar and functions in the same way as the multi-site form. The single site form only has one additional tab, and it's the startup tab. Again, the startup tab feels and functions in the same way as the multi-site. No difference there. All of the items listed here will roll up into the program budget form or the master. The single site form does not require you to list items as in detail as the multi-site form, but you still must fill it out completely. Let's build a program manager. In our single site form, enter the name of the staff if known, and if not known, to be determined serves just well. The program manager will have an annual salary of $50,000 a year and will be 100% allocated to the program. That person is a full-time staff member to the agency. So, and in the salary column, you would enter the salaried amount. And in the allocation column, you would enter the allocation. The form automatically populates your salaried. And once you enter your fringe benefit rates, it will also calculate those for you. If you use retirement, it will also calculate retirement. Same with the unemployment tax. Once you enter your rate, it will calculate unemployment. Health benefits, same way. If you do not provide health benefits for certain positions, all you have to do is zero it out. No need to delete, just zero it out. The form then summarizes all of your positions. Again, it also picks up all the numbers that you entered up in the fringe benefits above. No need to enter those here. And it moves on to your expense line items. In the single site form, the startup cost will roll up to the master or the program budget form. And it also captures administrative costs and matching contributions. If you happen to break a link and you want to recopy it, you could either look at the adjacent cells or go back and pull up a fresh form and just look at the formula that's in that form and copy it onto your formula. This concludes my piece, and now we'll move on to the expenses.
Thank you, Ileana, for that excellent demonstration. So now we're going to walk you through the allowable cost by expense account, starting with category 1200, local and out-of-town staff travel. This category is used to capture travel for staff positions that are required to travel between sites as part of their regular duties. So examples of positions that may fall into this category would include your site directors or any staff who support multiple site locations. When completing this section, please include the staff position requiring travel, the mileage rate reimbursed by your agency, which may not exceed the current federal mileage rate, and your estimated monthly mileage. This category is strictly for staff travel and does not cover field trips or daily transportation.
One thing
Moving
to
on to-
notice about our
Go ahead.
about our expenses is that the form has three variables that are already built in: X, Y, and cost. Remember, just by natural algebra moves, if a number multiplied by itself by 1, it's itself. So if you have 1, if you only need to use 2 variables, just go ahead, enter a 1 on the third, and your formula would still be calculated.
Thank you, Ileana.
So
So
the
1300,
form- Go ahead.
contractual services, consultants, and professional fees. This category is for direct service providers who are contracted or subcontracted to deliver program services and who typically receive a 1099 at year end. So please remember that contractual costs must be tied directly to program service delivery, and examples may include contracted instructors or other specialized service providers who work directly with participants. The following items do not belong in this category: maintenance, cleaning or custodial services, IT support, or administrative or operational contractors. These costs should be captured under your admin costs. Okay, moving on to 1400, space and utilities. So this is a cost reimbursement expense, and it may be calculated one of 2 ways: based on square footage used for the program or based on full-time staff assigned to the program. The method for calculating this allocation is outlined in attachment 21 with the budget preparation guidelines. Allowable costs may include rent, utilities, and janitorial services. As Alicia stated previously, for programs budgeting rent, utilities, and janitorial services together, the cost may not exceed $27 per square foot. And if janitorial and utilities are budgeted separately, rent alone may not exceed $16 per square foot. So please ensure your calculations align with the required methods. Moving on to 1600, expenses and supplies. Category 1600 includes the day-to-day material costs and consumables needed to operate your program, and all expenses in this category must directly support service delivery. Allowable items may include cell phones for program staff when necessary for program operations, program supplies and daily activity materials, marketing and outreach, staff, and shirts for children with the required CSC logo, the required afternoon snack and emergency meals, background checks, required curriculum, supporting materials, arts and crafts supplies, adaptive equipment, and sensory supplies, books, software, laptops, or tablets costing less than $1,500. Equipment or furniture costing less than $1,500 should be included in your startup tab and is only allowable in the initial contract year. When entering items in this expense category, please clearly show your method of calculation. This helps reviewers understand your totals and ensures alignment with CSC requirements. Some examples of items that are not allowable under 1600 include furniture, staff incentives or meals, office equipment such as filing cabinets, large electronics, and any administrative or agency-wide expenses. You'll notice that for the purpose of this demonstration, category 1700 is not open on the spreadsheet, but you may see it in your budget template that's provided as part of the application process. So just make note that 1700 other is not allowed under this procurement. So please do not include any costs in 1700. So if you're still with us, go ahead and hit that reaction button. We know it's a lot of detail, but we want you fully equipped for a successful application process. Woohoo! Okay, so now we're moving on to the cost reimbursement categories. So value added is a cost reimbursement category used for enhancements that strengthen participant experiences and support the goals outlined in the RFP. Allowable value added expenses for this procurement include, but are not limited to, your pro-social activities, family engagement, field trip transportation, and swim lesson transportation during the summer, music therapy for special needs programs, and incentives such as treasure boxes. All value-added activities must support program goals and enhance participant engagement, retention, or outcomes. Since CSC programs are supported by public funds, costs must be reasonable and cost-effective. All program activities must be conducted within the Tri-County area and may not take place outside of this region. Please refer to attachment 20, provider guidelines for value-added and flex funds. It's also important to note that flex funds are not an allowable cost in this procurement. Moving right along to 8030, transportation. So this cost reimbursement category is for daily client transportation to and from the program only. Mileage should not exceed the federal mileage rate, and transportation under this category does not include transportation for field trips. CSC prefers to fund for direct services to children and youth, so proposals that include daily transportation costs must provide a clear rationale for the request and explain why the applicant is unable to partner with other entities to cover the daily costs of transportation. Applicants are strongly encouraged to review the transportation guidelines in attachment 24, which outline the full requirements and limitations of this category. Next, moving on to 8045, out-of-school time fees. So this category applies only to providers operating on Broward County Public School sites, and you must include the required school board fees outlined in pages 8 and 9 of the RFP, and they are also located in attachment 27. For 8050, other reimbursement, this cost reimbursement category is for specialized staff training not offered by CSC. CSC provides the required trainings listed on page 21 of the RFP, including trauma-informed care, youth mental health first aid, and required trainings relating to program components. Category 8050 may include specialized certifications such as PCM, which is Professional Crisis Management, and NAPI, Non-Abusive Psychological and Physical Intervention, and other specialized trainings not offered by CSC. This is a cost reimbursement category, and all trainings must directly support program delivery. If you're wondering what training CSC offers, please go to our website. Up at the top right-hand corner, there's a link for training, and that will take you to our training website, which lists all of the available trainings that are free to program staff if you're awarded funding. Moving right along. Your administrative costs. Eliana, can you do me a huge favor and just give a brief overview of our admin costs?
Yes. So administrative costs are to be used for administrative overhead costs not covered in our direct services expenses. These include annual financial statement audits, licensing and permits, the liability insurance, professional liability insurance, and it may also include some of our overhead management folks. Administrative cost is limited to 12% of your program expenses and should not go over the 12% required by CSC, limitation by CSC. Your administrative cost can be it's a simple formula. You divide your total awarded amount. Well, we'll go into that a little bit later, but it should not exceed 12% of your expense cost. Administrative costs should not include direct service items such as background checks or you want to get reimbursed for those immediately and program expenses later on.
Yeah. So lastly, we're going to touch a little bit on your match. So all the way down at the bottom of the form, you'll find the match contributions, and this is captured on that main site form. For this presentation, you'll see it as tab alpha. So CSC requires a 5% match, which must directly support program operations. So match examples include salaries and benefits of direct service staff not included in your CSC funded portion, certified teachers funded through another source, other direct service staff contributing to program delivery, fundraising or production expenses that support program activities, meals not covered by CSC, excess admin costs, and unfunded space and utilities. So please ensure your match contributions are clearly itemized and directly tied to program delivery. And with that, we have reached the end of our form. I don't know if the CSC team wants to jump in and share anything before we begin to open the floor for your questions. All right, the floor is open for questions. You may unmute your mic or raise your hand, and we will call on you if you have any questions. If you don't, we're just going to assume we did an amazing job. Hey, Kathy.
Good morning. Thank you all. Great presentation. My question is, since we're an existing provider, we're operating under a 10-month budget. So don't we need to create a 2-month budget that covers August and September?
You have that information because you've been with us, Kathy. So for the purpose of the RFP and the application, we are only looking for a school year budget and a summer budget. And if you're awarded funding, we'll work with you to develop that mini budget, the 2-month budget you're talking about, and then your 12-month budget for the initial contract term.
Awesome. That's a great change. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello. Can we get a copy, a copy of the recording for the budget?
So I don't believe we are recording this presentation, but we will be providing a written question and answer on December 12th.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Susan?
Good morning. I wanted to know, I see that this meeting is being recorded. Will we have access to the recording to share with other staff members that aren't present today?
Unfortunately, no. It's being recorded for transcription purposes, so we can develop the question and answer for you, but unfortunately it won't be posted to be revisited or reviewed. But I highly recommend reviewing the RFP and all of the attachments because all of the documents are there and should support you in developing your budget.
Okay, thank you so much. And for those of us organizations that are still trying to work out a site, will applications be accepted if the site is still to be determined, or do you need the actual site to be in place now?
So for that, Maria, I see you. Acknowledge
Hi.
you, please.
So for this pre-bid conference, we're only asking questions specific to budget preparation. We had a previous pre-bid, and those questions and answers will be posted by December 5th.
Okay, no, I only asked because I see that on the budget, it does ask site questions.
Right, so Susan, those questions are answered on the pre-bid Q&A document that'll be posted on the 5th.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Hi, this is Allison from the Y. If I can ask a question, please.
Of course, Allison, go right ahead.
So we're just asking for clarity. We're doing an after-school budget and a summer budget. As far as one of the things that was said was do a 12-month budget. So we just want to be clear, is it an after-school 10-month and then a summer 2-month, or how would you like us to do that?
So we are requesting a school year 10-month budget and your 2 to 3 month summer budget, keeping in mind that you may include your startup expenses. And you can find the actual, what we're looking for on page 7 of the AFFs for most special needs and most inclusion. The 12-month reference was strictly for once you're awarded funding, then we'll work with you to develop those budgets that you'll actually use for programmatics.
Thank you, Jessica. And I have one more question.
Go right ahead.
So Ileana said on each of the multi-site budget pages, you would put your full-time, but typically in the past, we put all the full-time on site 1. How would you like us to proceed?
Liliana, I'll let you take that answer.
You are correct, Allison. Different agencies have different structures. Your structure, you will pull all your full-timers onto your main site if they serve across multiple sites. Let's say that you have salaried site directors and you have 20 sites and each site has its own site director. You would then, even though they're salaried, you would assign them to that site, their specific site. So you may have full-time staff members at individual sites, and you also may have full-time staff members that serve the entire program.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Give us one more minute for additional questions. Susan, I still see your hand up. I don't know if you have any other questions, but I just want to let you know you're recognized if you do.
No, I'm okay. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Hi, good afternoon, or good morning, I'm sorry. I have a question. The first question is, I saw the CSC logo shirts as an example in one of the budgets. Is that a requirement for the program? That's the new provider asking that. For the staff that are working on that will be working on the program, are they required to wear the shirts with the CSC logo?
So I think we're obviously going to provide this answer in writing. So your staff t-shirts are required, and we do highly, highly prefer that you include the CSC logo on your staff shirts. But your staff shirts should be for staff that are directly related to the program. So these are your direct service staff or your staff that are actually in the program that you're applying for.
Got it. And that's for staff. That's not pertaining to the children as well, or is it for both?
For both.
Perfect. And then the next question I have, I'm trying to read what's written. So is the budget allocated or approved to the company as a whole, or is it per site that the company has? For example, would we receive, say, $1 million budget for 3 years and then have to find the locations to use the money, or do we acquire that amount once a site is acquired? And this is again for a new provider. So say if we're going to be getting, say, new sites once we have this grant, if we should receive the grant and we get a new site, will we be able to cover or apply our CSC funds to that site, or is it only for sites that were listed in our submittal?
I think I understand what you're asking. So you're asking if you're awarded funding and you obtain new sites, will the funding cover the new sites?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so Maria, I don't know if you think we should just answer that in writing, or if you want to speak to it now, or Dion, if you'd like to speak to it as well.
Well, that question isn't technically specific to budget creation. So in this pre-bid conference, we're answering questions specific to what you need to know to create the budget. That question is related to if you get funding and there's other sites, then what happens? So we would manage that situation when that happens.
Okay. And the only reason for asking the questions, of course, we're preparing the budget, but we want to prepare the budget properly, right? We don't want to set ourselves up and not be able to function. So if we're preparing the budget and we only prepare for current sites, how do we deal with future sites? It's kind of what we're at, why we're asking that from a budget perspective.
So from a budget perspective, for this application, you would be preparing the budget specific to the sites that you're including in your proposal right now.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I just wanted to share good news. So for those of you that asked if this recording will be posted, we will post this pre-bid conference workshop, so it's available to you to review.
Excellent. I have a question.
Go right ahead, Nikki.
Thank you for sharing that. My question actually aligns with that statement. I was going to ask you in regard to the program pre-bid conference that was held, because there were some items that you all addressed in this conference that kind of align with some of the things you shared in the previous one. I wanted to know if the previous one was going to be shared or posted so that I could take my notes from this one and kind of align some of the things that were shared. So is that an possibility as well?
So Nikki, we can post the previous one as well, but I do want to emphasize to you that the question and answer document that will be posted by December 5th supersedes the previous pre-bid. So we really encourage you to look at the question and answer document. We take the questions, and if we can provide more or clearer information in the written document, we do that. So if you just go through that recording, you're going to miss all the questions that were asked afterwards, and you may miss details that were added.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing.
Hi, Rachel Taylor with Firewall here. Hi, Eliana. So I have a quick question. I just want to clarify. I already read it on in the RFP, but I just want to make sure. In the past, I sort of remember doing like a budget with startup and then I think it was like an August through a July budget. So you don't need like an August, September 2027 budget. You just want a school year budget and then the summer budget. Does that make sense? Does my question make sense?
Yeah, Rachel, and you're correct. We are looking for a school year budget and a summer budget.
Okay, so it's a little bit different. Is that because in the past, I think it was, it had the 2-month budget or something. So we're not doing that anymore, correct?
That's correct. Once awarded
Okay.
funding, we will work with you to develop those budgets.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Okay, if there are no further questions, we will conclude this pre-bid conference. So thank you everyone for joining. We wish you the most success on your applications. Keep an eye out for December 5th for the initial programmatic pre-bid questions that will be posted in CAPS. And on December 12th, be sure to look for the questions asked today and the answers for this presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Right.